Welcome to Build Your Best Business. I'm your host, Eric Holtzclaw. Build Your Best Business is about the entrepreneurial journey. What does it take to successfully build, grow, manage, and eventually exit a business? And, building a business is one thing. Writing a book or creating a cookbook could be another.
Right.
Okay, a business part for babies, business part of it. My guest in the studio today is Andrea Young. She is the author of Natural Puree Foods for To-Be Babies, the Cookbook.
Yes.
There is a lot wrapped up in that. So,
oh my gosh, so much.
So first tell me about the cookbook a little bit. So where are you in the process? What's it about?
Well, right now, the book should be on sale in a couple of days.
Oh, wow.
On Amazon.
Yep.
Yes. So on Amazon, we will have the book ready for sale.
Okay.
Pre-order, of course, and then I'll have them ship out to the customer. The book is basically about children that is feed through the G-tube, natural, puree, organic foods. I was told I couldn't do it, but I did it. And I want to help other mothers, single parents, or parents that had the issues that I have, and people who's telling them no, they can't do it, it won't work. So I built a cookbook for that. And actually, I'm the first person to do it. So I'm excited.
That's cool. It's always great to have a little niche, so something that nobody's ever done.
Right.
So there's a lot in what you just said that I'm not familiar with. I know just enough to be dangerous. I've read a little bit of your background. So tell me first, what is a G-tube baby?
A G-tube baby is a baby who's fed through a tube.
Okay.
Is not able to feed by mouth. There's some babies that do have the G-tube and they could take liquids, but they can't eat solids. And then there's some babies that can't do both at all.
Okay.
So what I came up with was a project to help babies who can swallow and can't eat solids and who can't do both.
Okay.
So that's basically what it is.
And so this comes from your own personal background?
Yes, my son is a G-tube baby.
Okay. So
yeah.
So I don't know a lot about it. So tell me a little bit about what that is. Are they on a G-tube forever? Is this something that's a part of a phase of their life? Or?
It depends on the child.
Okay.
My son, he's improving.
Yeah.
So it's a possibility that he won't be on it much longer. But it all depends on the child. It's a gastro tube that's connected to the stomach, and basically the food goes straight from the tube into the stomach. Okay. So it bypasses the teeth, the tongue, the swallow, all of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so did you know before he was born that it was gonna?
No.
This is something that happens afterwards.
It was a mishap by the hospital.
Oh wow. Okay.
Right. So I can't go legally into that.
Understood.
But yeah. It was after birth.
Okay.
Yeah.
After birth. And so then this G-tube may be something that they have. And so do you know how many babies? Do you have the stats around how many are affected by that?
The research that I did was 500,000. That's between babies, toddlers, and adults.
Oh, wow. And so there are adults and others that have this too.
Yeah.
And so what did they tell you that you couldn't do, which makes you truly an entrepreneur? Because entrepreneurs are the people who are like, you tell me I can't do it. Of course I can.
Right.
So
they told me that the solid foods, I won't be able to puree it thin enough to go through the tube. It would get stuck. It would mess up his sight. His stomach might get harmed by it. So many things. And I'm a risk taker. So I was like, well, I'm going to try it. And I don't think I'm going to hurt my child because I've seen mothers, there's some mothers few that did videos on YouTube.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, well, let me try it. Let me measure the volume and the thickness of the food and see if I can make it to where it's thin enough and more nutrition, more rich for him. So, and I came up with it. So.
Okay. And so talk to me, what would be the alternative? So if you weren't using kind of pureed food, is it like a formulas of some sort?
Yeah.
So what was why were you against that?
Because I look at my baby just as if he was normal and he didn't have that abnormality, Yeah. So I said, you're not going to just be on formula or liquid for the rest of your life. I don't think that's going to be good for you. And I just researched constantly day and night and just took the risk and went out there and I said, I'm going to do it. And all his doctors like, oh my God, I didn't think it was. I was like, well,
it worked.
What do you expect? Right. You have to leap.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, and so your starting point then, when you realized that this was a reality and you didn't want to just rely on formulas, you wanted to use real foods.
Right.
Was there something about you thought maybe that would be a way for him to recover quicker, or had you read something like that, or was it just something about the formulas? Like, I'm curious about, like, do you like organic foods? Is like that your thing?
I do.
Okay.
I do like organic foods. But I was more nervous of him being malnutrition. I didn't want him to not gain the correct weight, the proper weight. I wanted him to look healthy and stay healthy.
Yeah.
And even before he was born and I was pregnant, I was eating healthy then. I made sure I did not eat anything that was not good for me. If I was going to Walmart and there was somebody smoking at the front, I held my breath until I get in. Like, I was just so really, crucial about having a healthy baby. So when he was born and he went through that phase, I still wanted to make sure he was getting everything he needed. And also the food that I feed him helps him as well. I researched what broccoli would do, or banana, potassium, all of that to help him to get better.
Yeah, so you had a lot more control over the types of things and what you thought he might need at a certain point, because the formulas are probably there's a very little variety in that, is there?
Yeah, and the calories is not
great.
It's not that great either. Because like for an 8-ounce bottle is maybe 100 calories.
Yeah.
And his his puree, that I make is probably like 1,100 calories, which is typical.
Oh, wow. Right.
Yeah. So a natural banana is like 120.
Okay.
And an avocado is like 234. So I added those all up together and I just give it to him.
Okay. And so in that process, so you said you watched a bunch of YouTube videos and you found some other people, and were there other communities you could reach out to that connected with in this space?
No, I haven't seen any communities.
Oh, wow.
Just individual mothers that have tried them. And I've seen one mom who cooked food maybe 2-3 days prior, have it all stocked, and then she used it for the week. I've seen one mom who cooks it fresh every day. So it was just different things I've seen, and I just put it all together.
Yeah. And so talk to me about that process. So like how did you know what to do, and then how did you know it was working?
I knew it was working when I went to the doctor, and they're like, "Oh my God, what are you feeding him?" So I'm like, and it was like, no, he's just gaining weight so fast, and I just didn't think. And
from what period of time was that? So like, how old was he till the point that you like?
Well, he stayed in the hospital for 3.5 months after he was born.
Okay.
When he got out, he was still on formula for maybe a month and a half.
Okay, so that was during the time you're trying to figure out.
Yeah, and that's a typical normal baby. They would stay on formula till then. So when he was 6-7 months, one of his nanny nurses was at home with me, and she was just like, I want to try to put him, like, to blend his food and to see, because, I mean, he's 6 months. He's supposed to be eating by mouth right now. And I said, okay, well, let's try it. And then that's how we started, and I just researched. And at first, I was using Gerber, the natural pureed foods that we would get in Walmart. No offense to them, but they wasn't giving me enough calorie counts, and the volume was too high. So that's when I went the natural route. And I said, well, let me see how much is in a potato or chicken, and I'll do it myself. And it was more calories than a can. The can was more diluted with water and
things like that.
Yeah.
And I've heard of the movements of people who, choose not to buy the commercial baby food. Like they'll make their own baby food, or, like Jerry Seinfeld's wife is, famous for creating the recipes where she cooks vegetables into things so that they don't taste like vegetables.
Oh really?
Yeah, so she like makes a mac and cheese or something. I'm totally making this up, so could be not mac and cheese, but like broccoli or something, and she makes such a consistency that the kids can't taste it, but they still end up getting the same thing. So it's but I hadn't heard about this I actually really don't know that I'd heard a lot about G-tube babies, or that there were G-tube individuals. So
there are a lot of babies out there, and different condition causes a baby to be on G-tube. It's not just a brain condition or a heart condition. It
could be anything.
And it's a lot of them out there.
So your doctor says that this seems to be working, so you decide you're going to do a cookbook? Like, that's like the next thing in your mind? Or did somebody say you should really teach other people how to do this? Like, where did you go next with that?
Well, it was definitely not in my mind at all. I had one friend, she used to come over every day, and she's like, Andrea, you should make a book out of this. I'm like, girl, please. I just want to do it for she said, no, you need to help other moms. I was like, okay, I'll think about it. My mom, my sisters, was telling me, go ahead and do it. My mom actually was like, you should do like a food company or something. And I was like, oh gosh, I don't know. So then one day I was just sitting on my bed and I was like, okay, well, I'm not doing anything. I could be, I could help other moms. I had struggles with finding out, even when I decided to start to feed them naturally and with the food. The volume part of it was very, very hard for me.
The volume part?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And it was, I would make a lot of food and then he wouldn't get enough calorie. So it was just too much. So I had to sit down and actually research it. And I was just like, you know what? I think I'm really going to do this to help other parents and single moms who have issues like I did. And
So my question here is, so did you have a background in like math or chemistry or something? Because
no.
If I sat down and started mashing together some bananas, I would have no clue.
No, math was like my worst subject.
That's why I love Excel spreadsheets, because they like do everything for me, right?
Yeah, no, math is like my worst subject in high school, but I have history in the medical field.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that was your starting point.
That was my starting point. But really, the medical field really didn't have anything to do with making the food.
Right.
I was just more comfortable with, okay, well, I have a baby that's like this, so I know what to do. I'm easy to adapt. But the food wasn't, no.
Yeah, it's just that knowing the volume to the calories, was that just the things that you learned by doing Google searches and things? Because if so, that's amazing that would teach you that. Because that's where I would be lost. Like I would sit down and be like, I have no idea, right? Like how to create the right volume for the calories and doing that translation.
Well, I did do some Google searches that didn't help me well. So I had an 8-ounce bottle, and I did I put just like maybe 2 bananas, an apple, and a pear, and then I did a cup of 8 ounces of apple juice. I was like, let me blend this and see how the consistency was. And when I did that, I said, oh my God, this is perfect. It's not too much. He eats 1 cup, 2 cups every 4 hours. And it worked. Yeah, it took me a while though.
Yeah, it sounds like, yeah. I can see a lot of experimentation.
Yeah.
So we're going to go to our first commercial break, and when we get back, I want to talk a little bit more about, the concept of putting the book together, how that worked, how you did that, how you knew how to put together a cookbook. You're kind of talking my language, though. I would like to do a cookbook just for cooking because I like to cook, right?
Really?
So, yeah. So we'll be back in just a second. You're listening to Build Your Best Business. Speaking today with author Andrea Young. She is the Andrea Young. Young. Sorry.
Okay. No, you're fine.
I told you I might get it wrong. Author of Natural Puree Foods for BYBB, the cookbook. We'll be back in just a minute. Being asked what kind of mistakes and lessons have I learned along the way, one of the things I liked about the experience I had in the 90s is I got to work for a bunch of what I call crazy CEOs. So I got to see the things that they did that I agreed with and the things maybe that I didn't. And that helped me form companies in the future and figure out how to work with others. I was a terrible boss in the 90s. I thought I could change people. And one of the biggest things I learned is that people do not change. If someone is not detail-oriented, they will never be detail-oriented. You can do a quarterly review with them and say, hey, next time you need to be more detail-oriented. If that's important to the job, you got to fire the person and move on. If it's not important to the job, if they do other things well, then you support them with someone else in the company who is detail-oriented. So if they send out emails with mistakes, you make sure that they send them through it. And it sounds like I'm saying you coddle someone and say, oh, you can't fix your mistakes. You have to understand and be aware of what they do well. So, and tap into that. And for your company, if they are useful, if there's something that they do well, then use them for that. Make them empowered. Don't make them do things they don't do well. They'll put it off to the end. They'll do it poorly. So understanding that, really looking at the team, who they are, and building a team is not about a job description. It's about building a patchwork quilt. So you'll find one person who's very good at one thing, and then you now need to support other things along the way. And it's not hard skills, it's more around the soft skills. Someone that's good at building the team, being collaborative, maybe sharing bad news. And then you put that person in front when you need that for your business. So the art of putting together a good team and understanding how to motivate them towards a goal is probably the biggest thing I've learned. We're back. You're listening to Build Your Best Business. I'm speaking today with Andrea Young. She is the author of Natural Puree Foods for To-Be Babies, the Cookbook. And being an author, writing a book, coming up with a concept is very much an entrepreneurial thing. It's one of those things that's sort of lonely. You've got to be encouraged by somebody to do it. And then there's all these things along the way. And it's not about getting the book. It's about getting the book out there too, which is where you're at now. You're about to release it. Yes.
Very soon. I'm having a release party in November. So.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
So you've built this book, or you started to build these recipes for people who had, those that were using G-tubes, right? And you had come up with some recipes that you knew worked. Then the concept of putting together a cookbook, like that's like a next step, right? So talk to me about what did that process look like for you? Were you, like, I know I've written a book, so I know how to write, like put together a textbook, but a book, because I'd imagine there's pictures and directions and stuff. Tell me about that a little bit.
Well, first, the writing of the recipes were very easy. And I say that because when I used to go to work with his nurses that would watch him at home, I would write down what I want them to make every day. And I kept it in a spiral notebook.
So you were giving them a plan. Why not give somebody else a plan?
Right. So it was easy to put it together because I saved them. I didn't throw them out, because sometimes they will go ahead and do the other, like the same recipe maybe 2 days later or so. So I had I gave my publisher one, but I have 2 spiral notebooks that are filled with recipes in there. So that part was easy. The pictures, my photographer came over to the house. We did a cute little setup of the fruits and the cutting and all of that. And he took pictures of that. So that's where the pictures come to play in the book. And then I put a little, a brief bio summary of why I did it, and, what inspired me to do it and why.
What inspired each one of the recipes?
Well, why the whole book
itself.
Yeah, in general.
Okay. Yeah, because that's what there's a group, the America's Test Kitchen, and so when you're getting a recipe, they kind of tell you the story behind what it took and all those kind of things.
Really?
It's really interesting, because then you get the chemistry behind why you're doing what you're doing. So talk to me a little bit about the book. So how many recipes are in it? Is it for anyone other than someone who may be working with G-tube? Somebody who has a G-tube. Is it appropriate to other audiences, or is it really just focused on that group?
It's about 30 to 40 recipes in there.
Yep.
Really, I would encourage mothers to use it even for babies who doesn't have teeth yet, without G-tubes, who can eat by mouth until they start to chew.
Yeah, okay.
It's really good for babies around that age too, because it tastes good. I've tasted before.
Yeah.
Oh my God, the banana and the peanut butter.
Why would you give your child something you wouldn't want to eat?
Exactly.
I mean, that's like, if the baby food tastes bad to me.
Right.
Why do I think it tastes good to them?
Oh my God, every time I make it, I lick my fingers. It's so good. But yeah, I mean, the babies will eat it. I do not put sugar in it. I substitute it with honey. Now, honey says that you're supposed to wait till the baby's about 1 year old before you give honey. I probably started it at 8 months, and it didn't harm him none.
Yeah.
So I use honey for the substitute of sugar.
Okay.
So yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, and so
I'll eat it myself.
So putting the book together, so the top process for that, so you have the pictures taken, you have the recipes, then did you do the layout, or did you work with someone? How did you lay this out?
My publisher did the layout. Oh my gosh, she's awesome.
Yeah.
She sends me texts every day and say, hey, look at the cover. You like it? Yes, I like it. Awesome. Look at the back. You like it? Yes, I like it. Awesome. She's just amazing.
And so how did you, and your publisher's Vicki Hankins, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Vicki.
So I know Vicki through some other, she's been on the show before and stuff like that. Yeah.
She's awesome.
Yeah. So how did you get connected with her?
Great story. Okay. So I was on my bed, like in my bed, just relaxing. And that's when the idea came to me. I'm Googling publishers in Atlanta, couldn't find anything. I got frustrated. I said, you know what? I'm not going to do this. And then I don't know, something inspired me again. Pick up your phone, look for a publisher. So I looked for a publisher, and the first person I came across, I forgot her name, but I called her. She sounded interested. She sent me some emails, and she said she would give me a call back. Then I called Vicki, went straight to her voicemail. She's a busy woman. So at that time, it went straight to...
Yeah, if you follow her on Instagram.
Oh, my God.
Yes, she's a
busy woman.
Yes.
So it went straight to her voicemail. I left a brief message of why and for her to call me back. She called me back, and we stayed on the phone for about an hour and a half talking about it. And I felt so connected with her.
Yeah.
And even before, it was after I got off the phone with her, the first publisher that I called, I was like, well, I don't want to, not go with her anymore because I feel bad. I told her I will. And then Vicki called me. We connected instantly. So I prayed about it. I said, God, whoever you want for me, let it be for me. The lady never called me back, the first one. And then Vicki just consistently stayed. Yeah.
Well, and if you are out there and because a lot of people at certain stages of their life decide that they're going to write a book, and working with a publisher, you really do have to connect. It's a selection process. There's a lot of back and forth, and that's a real relationship for a period of time. Yeah. From sort of the deciding factor that you were going to do the cookbook to the point that you kind of had something ready for print. How long has it taken you to get down that path?
She didn't take long at all.
Yeah.
I started, I want to say July.
Okay.
And the book is done.
Oh, wow. That's great.
Yeah. And I hired her as my PR as well.
I should have hired her for my publishing of my book.
Right.
Mine was a year.
She was on it. And it's not like I'm her only, client. She has several.
Right.
And she just stayed on it. She's awesome.
Well, good.
Awesome.
So the book is about to come out. You can have a launch party. What are some next steps for you? What are you working on next?
Well, I have a lot of tricks up my sleeve.
Okay.
So I decided to go another route with the G2 babies. Clothing is one of the biggest thing I want to do for them. Reason being because when I'm out with Aiden and it's time for him to eat, of course I'm not going to wait till I get home because he's going to be starving. So it was a hassle for me to unbuckle his onesie and his pants to get to his stomach area. So I came up with an idea for some clothes for the G2 babies. So that's in the air. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah, that's a really interesting, and it's something that most of us don't think about. And I've worked a lot with assistive technologies, so people that may have disabilities, and they don't dress the same way that we do. They don't. And one lady I met, she used to dress people for stage. Mm-hmm. When you're going out onto stage, you got to be able to do a costume change.
Right.
And you got to be able to do it quickly.
Very quickly.
And a lot of that application works for people who have disabilities. So she took that ability to sew and to turn things into, and she used it for that category. And you don't, sometimes translating that. So I think that's a great kind of natural extension of what you're doing.
The clothes as well is going to look normal.
Yeah.
So I don't want it to look, like the baby has something wrong.
Different.
It's going to be very fashiony, different colors, Mr. Handsome, Mrs. Cute, things like that, flowers, monster trucks, all that kind of good stuff.
So tell me, you've kind of got all these different ideas. You got the cookbook, you're talking about the clothing line, you found this need. So is your family entrepreneurial? Is this something that's sort of been a new thing for you?
It's a new thing for me. I don't have anybody in my background, my family, that's entrepreneurial.
You did do lemonade stands as a kid.
Did I? I don't think so. No, not in Brooklyn.
Oh, you're from Brooklyn, all right?
Brooklyn. Yeah, we can't stand on the block. No.
That's funny. Yeah, and so then you said you had another whole book, so you've got potentially a cookbook too then, yes?
I have have another book coming out.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, my memoir, my life story. Yeah, so you'll hear a lot about Brooklyn in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's coming out in about a month.
Okay.
Yeah, that one's very tedious.
Yeah.
It's like my personal. So I got to make sure I have everything in there.
Yeah, going through that whole editing and publishing process.
Right, make sure it's good. Take, hey, Mom, is that okay for me to put in there?
Oh, I just wrote mine. No permission.
Yeah, I need to get
Until people read the stories later and they're like, wait a second.
Yeah. So I want to make sure it's, it's good.
Well, good. Well, that's great. The other thing, you're talking about connecting with people that are in this community. You said that you didn't see a lot out there. Like, what's some of the ways that you're promoting the book? I know you're having the launch party, but how do you find other people who would be, I know you said it was for anybody who had a baby, but for people who may have a G-tube baby or a G-tube child in general, like what are some of the ways you're reaching to them?
Well, hashtags are awesome.
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
From a social media perspective.
Very awesome. Vicky, she posted, she posted something online and she hashtagged she posted the book and the background and why I did it. And she hashtagged G-tube and G-tube babies. And I had in 4 days 134,000 views.
Wow.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Right. So hashtags are very, very helpful. I'm trying to get connected with the hospitals, of course.
Yeah, okay. That's a good
children
idea.
hospitals. Yeah. Because they have, of course, the babies in there and get to them and stuff like that. So that's my next steps.
Yeah, you got to find those niches to kind of have the conversation and then figure out how to get it to the broader audience. Because, the writing of the book is a hard process, but then it's the promotion of the book. Like once it's, quote unquote, on the shelf, how do you get people to download it, buy it, use it?
Exactly. Doing book signings too. I know I have one coming up November 3rd or 4th. I'm deciding which day.
Yeah.
Definitely. I will post it on my Instagram, Brooklyn Steve's Baby. So you
what
guys,
is that?
Brooklyn Steve's Baby.
Okay.
Yeah, so you guys can see it on there. And yeah, I'm excited. I can't wait for it to launch.
Yeah, it's a cool period of time, and having written one, and then you've got like doing this and other tour where you've got to go. You talk to a lot of people, and a lot of conversations and things. Were you comfortable with that? Did you go through any kind of, because that's often something, you could write a book and not be somebody who wants to ever stand on a stage or have to do.
No. Oh my God, no. I'm not a person to go out and talk and to introduce first. I like to wait for people to come to me, but I have no choice now.
You have to self-promote.
Yeah, I have no choice now. So I got to get out there and say, hey, so. I'm working on it.
Yeah, I think, and everybody that I talk to is, it's, you can build a business and not necessarily, or write a book or do something and not be one of those out there people.
Right.
But the world today almost demands it.
Yeah, you have to.
No one else tells your story as well as you do and all that. Well, thank you for sharing your story with me.
Oh, no problem. I'm happy.
Yeah, it was great. And I wish you the best of luck with it. You'll have to keep us in the loop as you do the new things, like as you come up with the clothing line and things like that.
Yeah, definitely I would.
Yeah, I'd love to hear people's stories. So you've been listening to Build Your Best Business. We've been talking with author Andrea Young. She is the author of Natural Puree Foods for To-Be Babies, the cookbook, which should be out on Amazon, and you'll be able to get it. It'll be print soon too.
Yes.
Very good. Very nice. So until next time, what are you going to do to build your best business?